So one of my biggest frustrations in finance and the banking industry right now is the fact that we keep hiring experienced hires and we're not actually hiring people based on skill. So I say this with a big disclaimer. This is not necessarily any banks I've worked at. It's not specific to any industry, any position, any manager, nothing like that. However, for those of you that do know me, I work a lot with students across the banking industry. I work with students in financial engineering. I work with students with different quantitative backgrounds, computer science, from all over the world, including the US, China, Chile, countries in Europe. I mean, I really cover anyone who's willing to kind of work with me and who's really motivated to get a job in the quantitative finance industry. So this frustration comes to the fact of one of the biggest kind of like conundrums I always see, and I kind of laugh at how stupid these are, is you get a job posting and it says, required experience, like 10 or 15 years of risk management experience, and then it lists out the job, and the job is solely based on CCAR and DFAST, which are part of the Dodd-Frank Act. And so I laugh because they are assuming, I guess, in one sense that risk management, say 15, 20 years ago, is the exact same or has very commonalities with the new Dodd-Frank. But that's not really the case. And typically people 10, 15 years ago didn't do very much in risk management the way we do things in risk management today for DFAST and CCAR. And so I laugh because for those of you that know, Dodd-Frank came out in 2010. Today we're in 2017, so the maximum number of experience for DFAST and CCAR is really only 7 years. You can't have more than 7 years. And yeah, I understand the fact that you might be able to apply some of the risk practices or some of your knowledge over, but from my experience, that's not necessarily true in most cases. And so it's funny. So you're trying to hire someone with all this experience, and yet it doesn't really exist. And so the main problem with this is that, say back in 2010 when Dodd-Frank came out, we had to do a bunch of hiring and get people in places. And so most of senior management in these banks are business professionals, business degrees, and they understand banking from a business side, and that's completely fine. The issue though is that they went out and they went to hire a bunch of quants or people that needed to develop statistical models to kind of predict risk and predict different amounts of losses in credit portfolios. And there's a variety of models that banks need now to meet these regulations. And so they go out looking for these quants. The problem is that they are not quants themselves. So how do you find a quant, especially in an era where the word quant is so abused that literally everybody's claiming to be a quant? Data science now pops up. Data science is similar to being a quant. In many scenarios, it's the same thing as being a quant, so how do you sort through all this? It's difficult for someone even who actually is a quant to find people who are really quants and actually like what they do and love doing quantitative work. But the problem is these business managers went out and they hired other business professionals who claim to be quants. And so now you end up with a bank in some scenarios where you end up having a business senior manager, someone who's slightly more quantitative but still a business person. And so your team's okay, but you're really inefficient. You might not be able to build the types of models you need, and you might not be able to solve the problems such as aggregating risk across the entire corporation as you would like to do because you don't really have the skills you need. That being said, right now in the industry, being a quant in risk management is very lucrative because many banks are competing over top candidates. And the way they sort through top candidates is based on the experience amount, which is just a number of years you've worked in the industry. And so if you started back in, say, 2010 as a business professional and you have experience doing this for the last, 7 years, now you look really good to banks, but you're not really good at what you do because you don't have the training and the education for that. The other way that many banks have been trying to solve this problem is they go out and they look for a specific degree. So they say, okay, we only want, master's levels or we only want PhD level candidates, and we're going to use that as a sorting kind of tool for hiring candidates. Which is great. It sounds like a good solution, but it's really not. An example, though, is that a PhD is not a PhD is not a PhD, and a master's is not a master's is not a master's, and yet some undergraduate degrees are actually more valuable than a PhD, but people don't understand that. And one of the top examples of this is the fact that, a PhD in economics, which sounds great, it's business, it's banking related, right? It sounds amazing. is not the same as a PhD in econometrics. So for those of you that don't know, econometrics is the application of statistics in economic scenarios. So you have to know the economic theory and you have to know the statistics. You have to be able to put it together, create models that make sense, and get good results. With a degree in economics, it could be in anything. It could be social sciences. So you could study poor people and how the economy affects them and different policy changes that would, make it better for them or make society more desirable from your personal perspective. But this has nothing to do with banking. This limits their knowledge and understanding of statistical models, and they're typically not well suited for a lot of these positions. And you could end up hiring someone that has a skill and not experience. And so this leads me to this issue in hiring where a lot of these banks are going out looking for experienced hires. I think it's a load. I think it's just ridiculous that this is what it's come to. I think many banks do this. Yes, I understand it's very difficult to sort through candidates. It's hard to find the best candidates, but there is a great solution to this, and this is actually hiring students. So people that are just graduating. I know many of you are probably laughing right now thinking, well, Dimitri, these banks already hire students. Well, it's not really true. There are specific banks who do hire students. For example, I was hired on as a student, and I am very, very grateful to the people that hired me, because that's what got me my start. If I wouldn't have gotten that start, I wouldn't be where I'm at. There's no way I would have gotten into risk management without a bank that would have taken a risk on me. But these students, why are they so much better than the experienced hires? Well, first of all, if you narrow it down, not just by degree type, like master's or PhD, but you go out there and you find out which ones are the top universities, which ones are the very, very best in their field of study. You focus on degrees such as financial engineering, statistics, mathematics, data science, things that are very quantitative. These candidates will be able to do the job very well and come up with new and better solutions. And the sad part is that I actually work with students from these top universities and they're struggling to find jobs. And yet, on the other hand, I'm getting offers every day from companies that are trying to find new risk professionals. They would love to have you on their team if you just interview with us, Recruiters are always reaching out to us trying to fill these positions. And I've talked to a lot of them, and again, most recruiters don't place students. And it's hard because they don't have experience. But the worst part of this is that a lot of the students I work with, students I graduated with, were actually in mathematical competitions in their countries and exams, and they've ranked top. So I worked with a student who I think was number 3 in their province of China for mathematics. And so what you don't realize is a lot of these top-rated programs are very, very competitive. If you don't believe me, you can look up Google financial engineering programs, admission rates, stuff like that, and you'll see getting into Columbia, Baruch, even University of Michigan, CMU, University of Chicago. Again, all top-rated universities in general, but very, very specialized in financial engineering and quantitative methods and risk management. And these students are the very brightest in the field. These are the best of the best. It's so competitive to get there that you have to be extremely smart and extremely good at what you do. But instead, these banks are going out and hiring, general people. You have this general degree or you have a PhD from a local university and we want to hire local, and so we hire this person. So the reality is you're not getting the best talent because you're not taking a risk and hiring the best people who are students. And so this kind of disgusts me in the fact of the new political issues that are going around and the fact that nationalism is becoming another thing. Again, I don't want to get into the politics of it, but the reality is if you're a corporation, you're willing to pay X amount of dollars for an employee. Would you rather hire, someone based on their skills and hire the very best and one of the top people in the world? Or would you rather say, I only want to hire Americans, for example, and so I'm just going to hire Americans and require a green card? This is complete nonsense. Banks are losing out on great employees. Other industries are losing out on great employees. And at the end of the day, it hurts the corporations, it hurts the U.S. economy, and it's not good really for anyone. So what is the result of all this hiring? Well, first of all, banks I think are struggling with regulations. There's been a push to get rid of Dodd-Frank, or at least to reduce it. I have mixed feelings on this. But at the end of the day, I think we as banks can do a better job for a lot less money. It would help the banks actually reduce the cost associated with meeting these regulations, and it would actually improve the risk management practices, which would make banks more safe, more profitable, and the economy more stable. So the actual negative outcome of this is that a lot of people that are in these programs, for example, so you have a financial engineering degree, a quantitative mathematics, they're not going into finance anymore. A lot of them are leaving and looking for jobs elsewhere. So the tech industry, for example, is looking for bright people. Their work environments are typically better. They compensate similarly to banks, if not better. They have better benefits. Overall, tech's kind of a lucrative, fun area to go in. It seems more exciting than banking. And so now a lot of this top talent, which could be going into the banking sector to have degrees for this, are actually leaving and going into consulting and into the tech industry. So my final concluding remarks is that if you are a hiring manager at a bank, you work in HR at a bank, you work in the finance industry, start looking for students. These students are easier to train. They're more malleable because they're not set in their ways, such as an experienced hire. A lot of them have actually more skills that can be applied to the job versus the experienced hire. And overall, it's a better value. They're going to come in at a lower rate of pay when you start than hiring someone who's been doing this for 7, 10, 15 years, who seems experienced but is lacking the skills. So the bank wins overall. Better skills, better talent, better cost. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, until next time. Thanks for watching my video. If you find it helpful, please like, share, and subscribe.